All right, I am Reverend T. I am the unrefined priest. And today we got a little bit of an interesting topic. We just found out that Donald Trump wants to go to heaven and the whole world lost its mind. It's absolutely stunning to me that we think that we have some input on this topic. So you got your far left out there who's just bashing Donald Trump as Satan incarnate, and of course Satan cannot enter into heaven. He has his own place. That place is called hell. And then other people saying, he's a horrible human being. He has no place in heaven. You got to go to church, and he has no godly life, so therefore he can't go to church. He can't go to heaven. But then on the other side, you got the right with the, let's bring MAGA into heaven movement, which is fascinating to me. I'm going to pass on that, and I'm just going to take heaven with its own environment and culture attached to it. You've got the Donald Trump is my hero guys that are like, of course heaven wouldn't be heaven without Donald Trump standing next to me. So, on both sides, the whole world has lost its mind on this, and it's basically broken down along political lines. If you're a Republican, you're like, of course Donald Trump is going to be in heaven with me. And if you're a Democrat, you're like, of course Donald Trump's going to be, somewhere else, burning. And so, but for me, I wanted to look at this not through the political lens, but more through the religious lens, and just say, what does it mean that Donald Trump is wrestling with this idea? And then also there's some things in here that I think are very important that are not stated. Like the unstated important ideas in here that I also wanted to talk about. And then just some funny parts of it. I do think that this idea is a very interesting idea that I did want to break down. But, man, people have gone nuts over this. All Donald Trump says is maybe I can get into heaven, and the whole world just explodes over it. I think it's crazy. So let me play this for you. If you like what I'm doing, hit that like button as well as the subscribe button, and we will jump right in.
I just want to end it. I want to end it. We're not losing American lives. We're not losing American soldiers. We're losing Russian and Ukrainian, mostly soldiers. Some people, as missiles hit wrong spots or get lobbed into cities like Kiev and towns. But, if I can save 7,000 people a week from being killed, I think that's I want to try and get to heaven if possible. I'm hearing I'm not doing well. I hear I'm really at the bottom of the totem pole. But if I can get to heaven, this will be one of the reasons. I just want to...
All right. Okay, first of all, let me just say, when Donald Trump says, I hear that I'm not doing very well, I hear I'm at the bottom of the totem pole, that's just funny. That's just flat out funny, whether you're Republican or Democrat. That's just funny. And if you don't find that funny, it's because you are politically motivated. It is just, basic, funny, at its best. I absolutely love it. I think that that's hilarious because that's how we should all feel. That is not just funny, but it resonates with humanity, because we all know our own brokenness and our own sinfulness. And we look at the call of being somebody who is considered well-pleasing in the eyes of God, and that's a high bar. And apart from the grace of God, none of us are worthy of that. And all of us should look at our lives and come to that very same conclusion, that it doesn't appear as though I'm doing very well. And I feel like I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. So not only is it funny, but there is a bit of honesty in there. And And I love it. I love hearing statements like that. I think that that's how we should all be approaching heaven, with nobody thinking, I've earned this, or I deserve this, or I worked for this. And this is oftentimes what you hear from politicians, whether they're right or left, on the topic of hell, heaven, salvation, is kind of this idea of course I'm going to be there, but not because of the grace of God, but of course I'm going to be there because I've done such amazing things. And to hear somebody with that opposite view is a bit refreshing. So that's the first thing that I wanted to note on here. The second thing that I wanted to note is what's missing. And what's missing is what you oftentimes hear, particularly when politicians talk about heaven or hell. It is always, if heaven exists, I hope that I can make it. It is always that qualifier that if heaven is real, if it exists, if heaven is a reality, then I hope that I can make it. Donald Trump doesn't give you any of that, which is generally what you find with people who have strong convictions of an afterlife, a heaven and a hell. And the reason I bring this up is because I've never been one to say there's a strong faith in Donald Trump. I think for the most part, Donald Trump aligns himself with Christian morality, and has faith more in Donald Trump rather than Jesus Christ. That's not to say that he is not moving towards Christ in some way. I would not be qualified to speak on that because I'm not around him all the time and I don't know what God is doing in his heart. But what I can say, and what we generally see, is a high confidence in Donald Trump from Donald Trump, and a high regard for the morals of God. But this is quite a different area that we're in, where you're seeing Donald Trump not approach heaven or hell with the idea of an if, but approaching it as if it is a foregone conclusion. Of course it exists, and I hope that I am worthy of being brought in there. And so for me, that's a really interesting place to be. That's and obviously, I don't think that this was planned. I don't think this was written out. I think he's just speaking from his heart. He's just off the cuff, trying to make a little bit of a joke. But also there's some seriousness attached to it as well. And then the last thing that I just wanted to say is, again, anytime people are wrestling with the idea of their legacy, their impact, their worthiness of the afterlife, I think that that's a good place for somebody to be, where you are reflecting and saying, the things that I have done and the things that I have stood for, may be the things of God, and as such may enable me to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Now, obviously, there are people that are like, yeah, that's so far from reality, you've got to be joking me. And the truth is that I don't know. And I am not presenting this as Donald Trump is going to heaven or Donald Trump is going to hell. What I'm presenting it as is, it's a good place to be. This is a good place for Donald Trump to be. It's a good place for any human being to be, where you're reflecting on your life and you're reflecting on the things that you stand for, and are those the things of God, and are those the things that are those the values that God values. And so, again, I'm not qualified, and no one is, to say whether Donald Trump is bound for heaven or not bound for heaven. But what you can say is that this statement was pretty sound, was pretty solid statement, and really kind of puts him in a better light than I ever imagined that he was in. And I don't necessarily have Donald Trump in a bad light or a good light. I just, I generally think that Donald Trump has a lot of confidence in Donald Trump. And Christians generally need to be people who have a lot of confidence in Jesus Christ. And this is kind of showing maybe a different side of that. I don't know. It's interesting. Leave your comments if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. But I found this short statement by Donald Trump to be very intriguing. If you like what I'm doing, hit that like button. And if you want to be part of the channel, hit that subscribe button. Let's go. Here we go. And I'm out of here. I'll catch you on the next one.